Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to episode, what are we on, 94, 95, something like that, of DevChatter. I think it's 95 actually. So I will have to be figuring out what we're going to be doing for our 100th episode. I'm definitely going to do something special for that one, And welcome developers raiding over from the C# Fritz channel. I apologize if I'm a little bit loud. I don't know how my volume level is compared to his, but hi everybody, my name's Brendan. This channel's DevChatter, and today is our second episode of Solid Saturdays. So what that means is we're going to be covering the second of the solid principles today. We're going to talk a little bit about it at the beginning, but then we're going to write code and be working on our project with that. So obviously the second of the solid principles is the OpenClosed Principle, and solo pike only. Yes, the S from solid. So our previous episode was last Saturday, and it is recorded. There is a video for that in the videos section here on Twitch. And if you do want to find that, you can just go to our videos section and you'll find it down below. So, link there. So welcome everybody. Love to see the ooh, wow, C# supers down there. That's pretty awesome, Mots. Let's get some hypes responding in chat. I'm sure we have a couple in here that we can do. But anyway, that's what we're going to talk about today, is the OpenClosed Principle. So I'm going to give a little bit of time for people to show up because we just went live, so I don't want to dive too quickly into things. So, a quick background. My name is Brendan. This channel's DevChatter. We have 4 streams a week. And welcome everybody. Good to see you all coming in. We stream on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So, this being our Saturday stream for the week. And it's about this time each day that our stream starts. It varies a little bit based on Mondays and Tuesdays are a little bit earlier, and a little later. Thursday is a little earlier, and Saturday is at this time. If you want to see our schedule, I recommend you check out our schedule command that our bot has there in the chat. If you run that schedule command, it does a neat thing. So it printed out our schedule in UTC, but I don't have to do that. I could actually just say schedule and give it a location, and it will figure out where that location is in the world, and it'll come back with a response that fits. So sorry, chat just got spammed by a bunch of stuff happening, but an example might be, if you live in Germany, that's our schedule as far as Germany is concerned. So schedule in Toronto, there you go. So welcome everybody, it's good to see you all here. Alright, so I think I gave enough buffer for people to show up, get those notifications. As I said, I don't like diving into the topic in the first 5 minutes, because then you just get a whole bunch of people that just keep showing up that say, hey, what are we doing? Hey, what are we doing? Hey, what are we doing? So, Gutierrez Dev, awesome, glad to hear it. Yeah, so we have been streaming here. As I said, this is our 95th episode, so we've been streaming here quite a while, and I've seen a lot of growth and have a lot of awesome people here in the chat, so I'm looking forward to what we can discuss today. So welcome everybody. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, as I said, today we're going to talk about the OpenClosed Principle. So the OpenClosed Principle is one of the 5 solid principles of object-oriented design. This is the one that, the way I would describe it is, this is the one that adds a little bit of complexity in exchange for extensibility. And I'll explain what I mean as we go. And I am going to just mute that for a second while I explain, and I'll turn the notification sounds back on in a sec. So, the OpenClosed Principle says that code should be open for extension and closed for modification. So there's often a bit of confusion about this, so I'm going to try to explain what this means. And the way I'm going to do it is, I am going to talk about wearing hats. Funny enough. So one of my favorite explanations for this one is this one here. We used this as part of our software craftsmanship calendar a bunch of years ago. And we did this calendar of like basically just, you know, humorous takes on different programming principles, practices, other things like that. And so the open-closed principle, the idea with this one is essentially that, like, if you know, you want to keep the sun out of your eyes, you want to, you know, have a hat on or something like that, right? That you just take a hat, you just put it on your head, right? I mean, that's all it does. You just grab a hat, boom, done. I did not in any way have to modify my head to put on my hat, right? That's, you know, we designed an interface of that shape head, you know, and that shape in the hat, so it just goes on like this. I don't have to do anything like, you know, unscrewing of bolts and, you know what I mean? Like, I don't actually have to do any modifications to myself in order to put a hat on. So that's kind of the idea, is when you write code, you want to be making new code, and that's how you extend the behavior that you've got here. So in this case, you know, having, you know, hat behavior, or, you know, better vision, something like that. The glasses was a great suggestion. Sorry, Janisco, I just removed the hat. We got that backwards there. Okay, so that's the concept. We want to be able to add stuff on, but we don't want to have to change things. Now, why do we not want to change things? The short answer is, well, I kind of want to make a joke here. So because I was about to say that code never ends up with a bug if no one changed the code, right? But then I realized, wait a minute, no, that happens all the time. We always get the like, wait, this started having a bug and I didn't change it. And that might be true, but odds are we probably really did actually change something related to it at least. And so the idea is every time you change code, you run the risk of making it worse in some way. But, because you can add a bug. And so I practice something called, that is, you know, colloquially called the Boy Scout rule, which is you try to leave code better than you found it. And that means that occasionally you're going to have to mess things up, but most of the time when you go in, you try to make a little improvement. Don't fix the whole thing, just make a little improvement, and over time you're going to see things change for the better. The challenge is, if you have to keep going into the same place over and over and making a change, eventually you're going to mess it up. And so the open-closed principle says that you shouldn't be doing that. You should find a way to add that new behavior you keep trying to add these new features, without going in and changing the code again. So we say it's open to extension, so that means, you know, adding new behavior, closed to modification, so we want to minimize the amount that we need to change the existing code. And I added the minimum there. Most people don't say that one. I say minimize because there are some instances where you can make a minimal change, but the goal is not to, you know, really add a change to it. Okay, let's take a look. So, in OpenClosed, there's a few ways we can do this. The way that everybody is actually following OpenClosed, and you don't even realize it, you're doing this all the time, is just using parameters. If you look at a method and it has a parameter, say you've got a greet method and it, you know, greets a person based on the name. Well, you could have written separate greetings for every possible name, but you didn't. You extracted a parameter, and that technically is a use of the open-closed principle. There are more advanced ideas for this as well, and we'll talk about those ones because they're the more significant ones. We all know how parameters work. The more advanced ones are things like extracting interfaces and using polymorphism. So that is actually something that we use here a lot in our projects. So we use interfaces, we use polymorphism, we are using the strategy pattern, the command pattern. We're not using a rules engine, but we are using the decorator pattern. So of those 4 bullet points there, we're using 3 of those in our one project that we do here on the stream, our main one. Zarnal. Oh yeah, the little rhyme. 99 little bugs in the code, 99 little bugs. Take one down, patch it around, 127 little bugs in the code. Yeah, I love that one, Zarnal. Spartan. Or something like class inheritance and method overloading. Yes. So in C#, we use interfaces for this, but you could, for example, overload a virtual method in order to extend the behavior of, that code. Or you could have an abstract where you are adding new versions of that same thing, and the concept still applies. But and that can be used to implement these patterns. So yes, exactly. There are other cases as well. That would also apply for OpenClosed. There are actually a lot of them. For example, you could use the template method pattern, which is along the lines of what you were talking about, Spartan. The template method pattern is a pattern that does that kind of a concept. Okay. So, the examples that I want to talk about in our project, in our DevChatter bot project, are... we have a command handler, and that command handler uses the, you could say either the command or a strategy pattern. Command is a specialized use of the strategy pattern, I should say. They're very, very similar. So the command handler uses the command pattern. So every time I need to add a new command to our bot, so for example, we have a coins command that'll tell you how many coins you've earned in the chat. We also have an uptime command that will tell you how long the stream's been going. We have things like a shoutout command where I could say shout out to C# Fritz, and it will go ahead and link his stream and say this nice thing about him. And those are all commands. When I wrote each one of those, all I had to do was make a new command class and just essentially add it to the list of commands that we have. I didn't have to go to the handler and say this is how you handle the uptime command or the shoutout command or anything like that. I didn't have to tell it how to do those. That behavior was all encapsulated inside of a bot command object. Okay, so the one that a lot of people don't think about that is magic in many ways are the autofac registrations that I'm using. So when you register types with your IOC container, that is a form of OpenClosed Principle. So here's what a lot of people miss. We think a lot of times of OpenClosed being at the level of our classes and our methods. But that's not always the case. Sometimes we're at the level of a module. So, in our project, we are in the process of adding a new module. Maybe Brendan planned a few weeks ago that we should be in the process of adding this module in before we got to the OpenClosed Principle discussion. Here we are now, and we can talk about how our autofac registrations are actually being set up as part of the OpenClosed Principle. And the last thing that a lot of people don't think about is your configuration. So that's at the project level. So remember, we've talked method level, there's parameters. At class level, there's things like implementing interfaces and using polymorphism. And then at the module level, so modules of your code, the package level, things like that, we have IOC container registration based on implementing types and things like that. And then at the very top level, we can use configuration files and environment variables to deal with whole projects. So your project needs to connect to a different database when it's in production, because locally you're running with a dev database, but maybe in production you're connecting to an Azure database. Cool, you need different connection strings and things like that. So you use config files, because you don't want to be going in there and changing the value before you deploy. That'd be crazy. So these are some of the cool concepts here. Welcome everybody. I see a whole bunch of people talking in chat. Gunbert, Naki Supra, Blue Spide, lot of good people. Welcome everybody. Hopefully you're enjoying your Saturday. That, my friends, is the end of our slides. So I apologize for the screen going, black all of a sudden there. I knew it was going to happen, but here we are. We are ready to start looking at some code. I wanted to give the quick background on the topic that we're discussing today, which of course is the OpenClosed Principle. And here we go. Ancient Coder, I'm really glad you love Solid Saturdays. I enjoy them as well. So, what did I want to mention? So we're going to be working on our DevChatter bot. So, For anyone who doesn't know this, first off, I'm amazed that you haven't heard of this, because I was just talking about it. Our DevChatter bot is the bot that's there talking in chat. That's a bot that we built here on the stream, and we like the way that it's structured. It follows some good principles. There are some issues, but every code base has them. And we're going to clean those up, make things better, do some improvements. But if you want to check it out, all of the code we do here on the stream is actually out on GitHub, so you are welcome to look at the code, give us feedback on it, make suggestions. Heck, you can even send us pull requests if you want. In addition, I should mention that we have a Discord channel, so if you are interested in chatting with any of the other developers here, our Discord channel is actually fairly active. There were people talking in there this morning, there were people talking in there yesterday. Pretty much every day there's someone in there talking about some kind of coding thing they're working on or interested in, so if you want to chat with other developers who are interested in the same stuff you are, that's a place to do it. Okay, so let's jump in. Today's Solid Saturday. We're going to write a little bit of code. I'm sure I will mention some of that stuff again later. So, this Visual Studio is actually the one that is right now running that bot. You'll notice we even have a little bit of diagnostic messages, so we can see how it's running simple commands as you guys type stuff in there. Well, actually, the simple commands were me. Yeah, that is what we are working on. Oh, actually, that just reminded me. I forgot to click this button. There we go. So it should be popping up with a notification here soon, because I just resubscribed to my own channel. That's right, guys. I have to subscribe to my own channel. See? And thanks for all those follows, everybody. I do see them coming in, so thank you. Who recently hit? FDGod005, C. Anhorn, Linkuzu, NMKTV, Gutierrez Dev, Planet Victoria. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully you're enjoying the stream. Alright, so here's what I want to take a look at. So we're going to dig into our code a little bit, and I want to look at our ibot commands first. So we're going to talk a little bit about the structure of the code that we've got here, and then I actually want to work a little bit on one of our areas where we can now apply the open-closed principle, and I'll discuss about when it should be applied, because you don't want to apply the open-closed principle at all points. I will give you that warning, and you will see why when we get to our code. Because I think what I did when we started this piece that I'm going to show in a moment, I think I did the right thing in not using the open-closed principle right away, and deciding to wait until now to add it. And you'll see why in a moment. Okay, so the open-closed principle. We are following it because we created an interface, which I do want to clean up this interface. It's not ideal. It got a little bit unwieldy. But we do follow it. This is the list of classes that implement the ibot command. There are a bunch, but they are actually all implementing, most of them are actually implementing the base command, which is an abstract class that can give us some additional functionality. If we look at where the ibot command is actually used, we will find that it is being used in the command, assuming I can type correctly, everybody, that's a big if, command handler. So over here, what you'll notice that we do is, oh, I forgot that was in there. Okay, so what we do is this. This is the significant piece right here. So when we go to run a command, so if I type in !anything, right? There is no anything command. Actually, I typed anti-thing. Anti-thing. Anyway, so the point is it gets here and it looks to see, hey, is there a command I should be running? And if there is, then it will go ahead and grab that for us. If not, we just return out. So this is where my code just executed. It exited right here. And that is a good thing. If I want to add an anti-thing command like that, all I have to do is get it into this collection and it starts working. I don't have to add some extra if in here. I don't have to say like, hey, if it's anti-thing, right? I don't have to do that. And the reason why is I'm just using this list and pulling data out of it. That's the open-closed principle. And the way that I registered that is actually really, really neat. So we'll look at where that collection actually comes from that doesn't require any code to be written. Mike, you really like the music that I've got in the background. There's information about the music down below the stream. This is actually music from relaxdaily.net, and I'm actually a big fan of this music as well. It's quite good. Hence why it's playing on my stream. So, yeah, somewhere down below you'll see a music heading, and it will tell you all about it. Okay, so, where this came from. Sadly, this is not the nicest thing, but I am looking for ibot command in here. Should be in here. Whoops. Meant to do this. Okay. So here's what I did. When we were running this code, when the bot starts up, I go and I grab all the running assemblies, and then I'm actually just saying, if any bot commands exist, so any command that's in this system, anything implementing this, I'm just going to grab it, and I'm going to say, go ahead and create one of those. Now, these sometimes have state. I really only need one because the command handler itself is going to stay around. So I actually have it only create one instance because that's all I need to do. And I have it implement this interface. So what that means is when I go to create my command handler, it has a command list in it. And the command list... One sec. Excuse me, sorry about that. When you get that sneeze that comes on. Luckily I can mute the mic so you guys don't have to listen to that. So when this starts up... Not that one. Where is it? Oh! It's just a command list. Ah, here it is. So when this is created, so the command list object that's in the command handler, it has a requirement of a list of bot commands. So literally, our IOC container just goes and says, hey, what implements that interface? Alright, I'm going to make an instance of each one of those and give it to you. And so I did zero work. IOC container literally wired up that whole thing for me. I just had to create the classes and it just says, hey, here you go. This is what you wanted, right? And I'm done. So that was pretty darn nice. Because now, anytime I add a new one, I just add a new one, and it's automatically already there. So, as an example, to show you what I mean, I can go ahead and just make... I'm going to make a command. And we're going to make a command called example command. And this should immediately work. So this is going to be a base command. Implement the missing members. We're going to create that. And we don't need those values. Whoops. Repository. And then in my base, I am just going to say everyone. So anyone can call the example command. And we're going to say chat client dot send message, isn't this amazing? And we're just going to send out that message. So I just wrote the simplest command and I'm going to do nothing to wire it up. So this is open to extension right here in a nutshell. I'm going to kill the bot and we're going to restart it. So goodbye bot, we're going to get a new version of you. Okay, I'm guessing Ryakhovskiy. I know you've been in here a bunch before. You had a question. Is the IOC container globally accessible, or are all instances created in startup as well? The IOC container is technically globally accessible, but we don't use it that way. We only use it in startup to create all the stuff that we need. The other place where it's used is in our controllers for and in our page models in our website. So we are a web application here. So this project is also grabbing the IOC container there to create new instances. We're not leveraging it ourselves, though. ASP.NET is doing that for us and creating those objects. Hang on, I don't think it started. Oh wait, maybe it did. Hang on, is it running? It's running. Okay, the bot's there. There we go. Okay, so welcome, bot. Example, isn't this amazing? So what's neat is I changed nothing else. All I did was I wrote new code. This is new code. I touched nothing else. So that was an extension I made to the behavior of this bot, and I did no modifications. So that is how we implement the OpenClosed Principle. So if you want to take a look at how that works, as I mentioned earlier, all the code for that is out on GitHub, and you can also just check out our videos of previous stuff to see how we built it, or if you were watching this, I showed most of how it works. So that's an example of following the OpenClosed Principle. Now let me show you, and actually I'm going to delete that. Yeah, you actually have to have it connected there, Nakey Supra. If you do, yeah, like that. So, yep, no space, and then you got it. And it is case insensitive on that value, and it automatically wired up with the name. So it even figured out that that was the name we wanted for the command. Because if you looked at that class, let me show you. Example command, where did I define the name? I didn't. I didn't tell it what command it needed to be. But if I needed to add additional ones, I could actually add some extra command words. Oh, yes. I have watched Twitch streams on the phone before. It's the stream's usually good, but responding is not always the best thing. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this. I don't really need the example command. As nice as it was as an example, we don't really need that. That doesn't do anything for us. Okay, so I'm going to restart the bot, and then I am going to show you a place where we are not following it. So where are we not following? Let me make sure. Okay, no changes. Good. Over here in our mud game, you will notice that we have this, and we started work on something. We called it the Mudroom Handler. And this does not follow the OpenClosed Principle, but we want it to. So here is what it is doing. So right now, all we did, and it was funny because someone commented about this. I think it might have been Lucky Number 7 on Thursday commented that he's like, oh, why aren't you using a switch or something like that? And I was like, well, because I'm planning on throwing this out, is the short answer. So we've got code here. And the funny thing is I'm like, well, the plan is eventually to just get rid of it, so I'm not going to worry about adjusting to a better structure of the code I'm planning on getting rid of. But he is right. If I were going to keep this, that's the way I'd want to go. Okay, so here's what we've got. When our mud project, and actually I should explain this first. I'm going to explain this first. So we, wow, a few months ago, got a pull request from one of our viewers, and what he wanted to do, and it's something that we were interested too, he wanted to start a text adventure game in our project. So he sent us a pull request for a what's called a MUD. It's a multi-user dimension, and essentially what we want to build is we want to build a text adventure game that all of you can play at the same time here on the Twitch chat while the stream is going. So it should be a fun one. We'll see what we end up with, but that's what we've been building. So we're building a separate set of commands that are going to take place in a different room. And I'm going to show you that, actually, because I just realized a lot of you might not know what rooms are in this. And welcome, everybody that's following there. So here is, and I apologize about it doing the crazy back there. I'm not sure if I can hide that. Anyway, so if we look over here at this chat window, actually, wait, can I just type in chat? Hang on. Second is just, yes! There we go. Okay, we're just in chat. So, this is the chat window, which, by the way, did you guys know you could do that in Twitch? If you just want to be in the chat but not in the video, you can just go to /chat, and it gets you to the chat room. You guys might not have known that. Cool thing. Okay, which also is useful if you want to pull the chat into a separate window and have it separated, so maybe chat over on one screen, the video on another one. That's how you do that. Okay, so I am here. You guys can all type in here. So if you change to our mudroom, you'll see that right now there's just test stuff. So nothing all that important in here, but this is the room where we want the text adventure to take place. So we're going to put this over here. Yeah, Blue Spide, you could do the same thing and that would get you that also. So this right here is a separate chat room, not the main chat room. So you guys don't see that message in the main chat room, but I don't see the stream chat ones. See? Totally different rooms. So you guys probably didn't know that we have those. Because almost nobody knows that these rooms exist on Twitch. But we're going to build in one, because we want to build our adventure game in one. And all of you, yeah, see, Brave Cobra just hopped over into that room and was able to type in there. So we have separate rooms of chat. It's kind of nice. So because a text adventure game is going to have detailed descriptions of the rooms you're in, the actions you're taking, and things like that, it does not make sense to have that in the main room. So obviously we're going to have to use a combination of direct messages and putting it over there in the special chat room. Okay, so when we type in commands over there, I want it to work a little bit differently. So in the main chat, there's a lot of discussions going on that are about the mage. This is the DevChatter bot. So the because there's a lot of normal conversations going on in our stream chat, we don't want to oh mage, yeah. So it does not spam it to the degree that a text adventure would. So if we want to make it so that the text adventure game is playable, we probably don't want to have people typing in exclamation point commands all the time inside that chat. It's more going to be the place where whatever you're typing in is expected to be a command for the bot. So instead of looking for command words, like what these are, we're probably going to switch it eventually to not be based on command words, but for now it is based on command received. So clearly we could just move it to message received instead. But we'll look at that when we get there. Okay, so for now, you'll notice that I have hard-coded in this if statement, and if I want to, we have a few different actions that we can take in chat. And let me go ahead and show you. So for now I can say join mud, and it gets me that. And I can say move north, right? And then that moves me north, and I can look around now that I'm here. And you'll notice this is all going in the stream chat, so that's part of why I want to get this into the other chat room, but it's fine. And it'll say, hey, you find yourself in a long dark hallway, a door leading south is open, and so now I can say move south. And if I look around, you'll see I am back in the same room that I started in. So I'm able to move, I'm able to look, and I can walk between two rooms. If I try to go in a direction that there is not an open door, I currently cannot move. So that's the structure that we've set up. So we have a little bit of movement at this point, but there's a lot that we still need to build. So obviously, if I were going to add another command, say I wanted to be able to pick up one of those torches, or cast a fireball, for example, something like that, then what I would have to do is copy the code and make a modification. Now, I did say minimize, and this is a fairly minimal modification here. Obviously, I could say, like, take, right? And then I could do a take command or something like this. But, eventually, if I keep doing this, we're going to end up with code that looks like this, and it's just this massive thing that you have to, like, scan through trying to find the one that you're looking for. Now, I get that you could search and everything like that, How many do I need to leave? Is that it? Okay, there we go. But it just seems a little bit unwieldy to go that route. It would make more sense if I just said, you know, something along these lines. Find the action taken by the user, run that action. And then that's the only step in here. And then we can have those mud actions in their own. Ooh, I like that mud action. Ooh. That I might use that one. See? That's one of the nice things. And it's actually, okay, cool thing. I recommend pair programming or in some way involving other people. And part of the reason is I just spoke to you about the problem domain that I was working in, where I'm talking about these actions. And while doing that, I spoke the word that I think would actually make a good name. So we all know the hardest thing in programming is naming things. And since naming things is so hard, talking helps us just naturally come up with names. It's whatever your brain just innately came up with for like what that concept is. So it works pretty well. So I think I am going to call it that for now. So I'm going to say interface, and yes, I'm not worried about structure just yet. So notice I'm just lumping a bunch of files in here. We're going to move those eventually into namespaces. Now, the only reason I'm willing to do that is because we're going to be disciplined and actually get them into the right spot. So, mud action. There we go. This is an interface. And then what I want to do on this interface is probably basically the same concept as an ibot command, pretty much. But I think there might be some other restrictions on it. Let's think about what we want to have here. Actually, I'm going to pull up ibot command as an example. We don't want it to match exactly. We want to should execute. We definitely want to should execute. We'll say action text. Hey, Nike Supra. Yeah, thank you for the 100 biddies. Much appreciated. You should spam some DevChatter hype emotes in there, whoever's in here and has some. The bot only works on the mage. Right now, it is responding in here, but we're going to move it over into the mud channel. And the reason it's over here right now is we went to look up connecting it to the mud chat room, but when we did that, the problem we ended up running into is that the Twitch API library that we're using was having trouble getting us the IDs of the rooms we wanted to connect to. So that's the TwitchLib package. And the person we rated last Thursday, Lucky Number 7 and Sazuna work on the package that we use here to connect to Twitch. And we're investigating that bug, and we're I don't think successful in finding it. In fact, they were running into like inconsistencies with it. So I'm not sure what the issue is, but hopefully that'll get sorted and we can connect. For now, when we need to connect, if they haven't fixed the bug by the time I want to put it in the room, I just went and grabbed the ID, and we're just going to hard code it to our room right now. But then in the long run, we're going to want the bot to be able to find one, because I'm going to recommend that people, use a config file and just say, here's the name of it we want, or the ID, and either one should work. But we'll wire that up then. Okay, so should execute, and then we don't need those, Role required we're not going to have. And some kind of run it method. Let's hope we can get it this simple next time. We need an iMessage sender. I don't want a full chat client if I can avoid it. So message sender, and I guess we will use a command received event args for now, but I kind of want to pass something better than that. We'll see what we get. Thank you for that follow, Swan. Mage, what do you, wait, why should execute and not can execute? It could be either one, Brave Cobra. Both names would be fine. I did should execute. I could do can execute. I mean, it's the same thing for the most part. There's like slightly different in the meaning there. So Mage, if anyone types the mud specific command here, you could delete it and then night mode of the other. Oh, yeah. No, so Mage, what we're gonna do is, essentially, these are not going to be commands. Remember I told you that right now you have to say things like, you know, exclamation point move west, but inside the mudroom, it's not going to work that way. It's just going to say, like, you're just going to type in move west, and the bot's going to respond. So inside that room, it's not going to be looking for the exclamation point for commands. It's just going to respond. So it's assumed anything you're typing over there is probably a command for the bot. So that's the way we're going to wire it up. Okay. For now, I'm going to leave this void. So we're not going to do anything special with this. And we'll see what we end up getting. So I don't actually need the command, now that I think about it. So I want to look at this. Our arguments, what is it? It's a list, an iList of string. So I want our chat user. I just want our chat user and our arguments. So we were taking an object before. Garrett, we are looking at the OpenClosed Principle. If you were here earlier, we did a cool thing where all I did was I created a new class, and auto-magically there was a new command in the chat room. So it's pretty darn neat how that works. Okay, so OpenClosed Principle, yep. Hey, how do you make Visual Studio show those comments about references? Oh, these! You're talking about up here where it says references, changes, authors, and exceptions? Tram-pam-pam, if that's what you're talking about. That is actually part of a feature called Code Lens. And that is, yes, as Gareth says, part of the enterprise version only. If you do want to try that out, you aren't, you don't have an enterprise license, the way you can do that is you can actually run the preview version of Visual Studio. And you're always able to use the preview version for free, so the idea is you could, if you were willing to do it, you could just go install the preview version, run it until it runs out, and then install the next preview, and you would always have that. Yep. So, there you go. Alternately, you could buy the enterprise one, but I have a feeling if, you aren't, like, rolling in money, or at a company that just buys it. Oh, it's in Pro also. That's awesome to know, Renee. So, there you go. So, basically just not Community Edition. Okay, so process and execute. Those are going to be our two things. So, I'm going to make a folder now that we're going to call actions. And I'm going to ignore that word of actions for now. We're going to do this one. Yep, we're going to move that to a new spot. This is going to get the actions namespace. Add it on there. Wait, what? Oh, I called that actions. Oh, whoops. Yeah. It's getting used. It is. Sorry, thing. It's getting eliminated anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and change it to that. Yeah, we'll let that rename. Okay. Hang on, what is this? Oh, that would make my job. Yeah, Tram Pam Pam. It's actually really nice. One of the features that I like about CodeLens a lot is actually just, the piece that says who the author was. So it's not quite right because it'll get confused if someone moves a file or something like that. But but this feature is really nice because you can just see the changes on a method just at a glance. It's like right there, and you'd be like, oh, this is, this was added recently, and you'll just like spot that. You don't even have to go digging for it. It's just available information right there. So, okay. We don't need that anymore. We want to go over here. We need a... That's okay now? Good. Let me do one quick thing. Don't commit that. Don't commit that. Is this build? No, this got confused. Bummer. I don't know why I got confused about that. Well, luckily I can just click on a handful of these and they should fix almost immediately. Only works with TFS or Git repository. Oh yeah, that is a very good point. I only use Git anymore, so it has been a while since I've run into that kind of problem. So let's close this, close that, close that, close that, close that. Try building and see what we get. Build succeeded. Fantastic. Okay. So we have that. Rename the actions enum. Because I want its name, so I had to get rid of it. Alternately, instead of doing that little copy-paste thing that took me a couple of minutes there, I could have done a rename of my other namespace and then renamed that variable again, and it would have done it correctly that time. Okay, so we have this mudroom handler, and I need to give it a collection. So I want it to have a private read-only ilist of imud actions. We're going to call it all actions. And this is going to be initialized as a constructor parameter. So I clicked some buttons, did a little bit of magic there, but we're going to take in this collection. And then, thank you for the follow, by the way. This is going to give us all these actions that are available, and we're just going to have to use them down here. So we're no longer going to do this code. So step one, we are going to say all actions, and we're going to say, we'll do a first or default because I'm not brave. We're going to say action Okay, so if you're going to do magic, a mage in the game to defend... Thanks, Brave Cobra. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Also, one thing I actually just remembered that I wanted to mention. So, we were talking about the OpenClosed Principle, and this, by the way, the reason I tell you, and actually we're at a great point to talk about this, the reason I tell you to wait to add the OpenClosed Principle is if we actually stopped here with just these three commands, just these three actions, I would argue that there's no need for this. And in fact, actually, maybe the third one is the one that triggers it. But in simple cases, you don't need to add the complexity of this whole object structure that we're putting in here. But the idea is that I know without doubt that we're going to be adding additional actions later. And so in order to get a better handle on that, we want to have a structure around it. So the usual indicator that I give is actually the number 3. Once I've got the third thing that's, that I'm having to do something for, so that means I did it once, right? And that's a thing, I created the initial version. When I added the first extension to the behavior, so that's number 2, first extension gets us to 2 options, that I'm still okay with. Once I have the second extension, that's where I usually want to refactor and follow the OpenClosed principle, because then 2 is a pattern. That means there's a pattern of adding new things to it. So it's time to OpenClosed principle, and that's when I start my refactoring to try to fix something. Brave Cobra is trying to counter the magic. You don't want to counter the magic because the IOC container magic is going to be nice. Is it a best practice that the names of properties start with an underscore, or is it just a habit? So first off, I'm not big on the term best practice. I occasionally will use it sometime, but there are practices people like and good practices, and there are conventions as well, as Brave Cobra is mentioning there. So sometimes certain naming conventions, and I recommend whatever language, whatever framework, whatever tools you're using, learn the common conventions within that community. So within the .NET community, there are certain conventions for the names. For example, you usually end up with capital letters for declarations of classes. You'll end up with lowercase first letter for the names of local variables, and that includes parameters like these. So whatever language you're in, learn the way that they do that, because other developers will expect it and there's information that they gain from it. So whenever I see an underscore preceding an object, I know that that is probably a private or a protected field in that class that I'm in. And that's just kind of just a thing that I get for free as a developer, that I know something about that variable without having to put my cursor over it and look and see what it is. So you'll notice when I put my cursor over it, it's really small, but it does say the word field. And this says parameter, and it tells me where they came from, but I can get some of that kind of info at a glance. So that's why I do that one. So it's intentional. It's an intentional convention, not a habit necessarily, but there's only a slight distinction there. So yep. Underscores, methods, attributes in Python are common to let people know it's private, even though the language has no constructs for that. Yes, so that's also an indication of, hey, you should be careful how you use this. And there you go. Yeah, so as mentioned there in chat, you can use style cop and other things like that to enforce conventions if you do want to make sure that they're followed. Okay, so that's hopefully that explanation gets you guys covered for like how it is that we want to get these working. So when you get to your second change, so we'll call this the second change here. So I wrote join to begin with, then I added in look, and then I added in move. This is the second one. This is the indicator that I need to refactor and build the OpenClosed principle. Hey SNB, yep, things are going well. Welcome. All right, so we're going to grab that action, and then I am going to say if mud action equals null. So if we didn't find an action to run, I am going to return. So that's our, hey, there wasn't one, get out of here, it's fine. So, yep, Gazru, hey, and Simon, welcome. The other common style for the same thing is to force this in front of fields, then make both fields and params start with lowercase, and use the this prefix to differentiate the two. Oh yeah, so some people make the names match between them on that and use this to differentiate, but I'm not a big fan of that one, Simon. I don't like ever having to type this. But obviously if your code base uses that convention, then that's fine, and do it, because it's going to make it clear for anybody else using the code. So yeah, see, so whichever way you want to go, as long as there's a convention within the code base. So the goal is, there's a principle called the principle of least surprise. You want other developers to know what to expect. You want them to know what your code's doing and just find it. Just be like, yep, I get it. I understand. That's the way it works here. That's the way it works over there. And so within a code base, you want to make sure that you're consistent and following conventions. Okay, so we have this action, and now what I want to do is I want to say, thanks for those follows, everybody. Whatever you do, follow the existing conventions in the code. Yes, exactly. Yep, precisely. Follow the conventions of the code. Sorry, Caster, I know it's not fun, but follow the conventions that are in the code base. Alright, so we're just going to say mudaction.process, and we're going to send a... do we not have a message sender? Guess we don't. e.chatUser and e.arguments. There we go. Which actually, now looking at this, I could reverse this. So I inverted the if, and the cool part is this. This code can kind of disappear now. I don't actually need, well, now that I think about it, it should be out here, so we don't break everything. But now, oh yeah, I can just null propagate. What am I talking about? Burp. Okay. Yeah, Castro, everybody loves surprises. In other words, don't do what style comp shall. Yeah. Okay, so let's create some of these mud actions. So step 1, create a derived type. What's this first mud action going to be called, everybody? Join mud. Join mud action. And actually, we're just going to call it action. I'm going to leave off the word mud every time. So we're going to say that. We're going to implement the members. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that twice. So now I've got some duplicated code, and instead of join mud, I'm going to say move action, and this one is going to be look action. So we've got join mud, look, and move, and that looks pretty nice to me. So, ooh. Yeah, so style cop actually, the defaults in style cop are actually fairly good. So if you are interested in having some good conventions across your code, it's actually not a bad thing to use. Okay, so my can execute I think is going to be the same across these. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make, instead of this... See, it's funny, I really want my default implementation of an interface, everybody. I really almost want that thing that is so controversial that is coming in C# 8. And for anyone who doesn't know, there's a feature coming out in C# 8 that is slightly controversial, to say the least. It's allowing you to have a default implementation on interface, so you could do like this, and like, you know, define the default implementation. So you don't have to do the abstract class like this and change it. So abstract base class for the win? Sure. Yeah, it could be for the win. Yeah, so the default implementation and interface is a dangerous suggestion. You have to be careful about it. Yeah, it feels weird. I agree, Ashley. It feels weird. I am not sure how I feel about it exactly either, but we'll see how it goes. So public virtual boolean can execute, and this is going to be one of those. mud action. Throw new not implemented exception. There we go. And then down here, I realize I should have just done the interface to begin with instead of copying the thing. So we're going to say public abstract. And this one... Actually, that's funny. Since we were doing abstract on this one, I didn't actually need to do the interface implementation there. Abstract void process. Yeah, we'll leave it. Okay. Alright, stuff happened in chat. Maybe it will be like a lot of these things. Link felt weird when it first came out, and now most people would not want to be without it. Exactly, Simon. I do not want to write code without Link. It's so painful not to have Link and Lambda expressions. In fact, I kind of know that experience, because I was used to Lambda expressions from Python before I switched to C#. Feels like it goes against the purpose of an interface, but I see where it could be useful. Yeah, so it does kind of go against the purpose of an interface, but it allows you to add a new thing to the interface without having to go everywhere and make it change. Need to add variables to instances, and then I can finally have multi-inheritance. Yeah, Blue Spied, let's not do that. So that sounds like a good idea. We'll just not do that, and then you can still not have what you want, and it'll be great, and we'll all be happy. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to say return true. Now, instead of implementing iMud action, we are going to implement base mud action. Derp. Alright, now I'm going to get rid of my can executes, because they don't need them anymore. Because they're in the base class. Now my processes are complaining here, and the reason process is complaining is because it needs an override in order to implement the abstract method here. And there we go. So now everything is happy again. Understand the reason for public libs to extend them, but I will try to avoid it as long as possible. Yeah, so we'll see how it ends up. I mean, I intend to try them right away, but my recommendation with most features that are under the category of can be dangerous is just be careful in how you use it, and you will be in good shape. So just try to be careful. Okay, so let's move these into their own classes. So, no, I don't want that. What are you doing? Move that to there. Why was that the default action? Who did that? Move to its own class. There we go. Moving all these to their own files. There are just commands for this. Use whatever tooling you like to do it. I'm just making new files. You can see them over there in the Solution Explorer over here. There's a new file for each one of those. And welcome anybody that was lurking around after Code Rush to end. So I hope you can all see how this is, how making this little structure, what we were able to do is add this to this method, and now we can one time do a little refactoring. And this is a refactoring because this is going to work the same way it did before. So you're going to call these methods, and they're going to do the exact same thing. So join mud, for example. Oh, these are all game commands, so they're all going to need access to this. So here's what we're going to do. All of these are going to have access to mud game. Which means these all need to change. I have no clue. Welcome. Thank you for the Twitch Prime subscription. Much appreciated. Can we get some love there in the chat with some dino hype emotes? For anybody who's got them. So let's go ahead and add this. So we end up with a nice constructor here. Hey! And a subtray. We need some more hype emotes in here. Nikki Supra, thank you very much for the sub. We got people here joining the Dino Club. Please enjoy both your emotes as well as the new dinosaur eggs that you have. So you'll notice next to your name there's now a little dinosaur egg. It'll take some time, but it will eventually be able to hatch. Brave Cobra At this point, no. But the way that we're going to make it able to be a little bit more thread safe is if we were to put locks on it, we could get around it. But no, we haven't written them yet. But then again, we're single-threaded in the mud game right now anyway, so I'm not too worried about it yet. Yeah. Awesome. Much appreciated. Have no clue. I 100% agree. In fact, every single person that has Amazon Prime automatically has Twitch Prime, and so has the same thing. They get a free sub to a Twitch channel every month, and might as well use it. So, alright. So we have join mud games. We just pass it in, and then that works fine. I need to rearrange these. Why did I put that on the bottom? Really? It was missing a constructor. It added it to the bottom. That doesn't make any sense. And then this one, that's on the top, so that one's right. Look action. Let's add this one. It's probably going to put it... Generate constructor. Oh, it got that one right. Okay, cool. I don't know why the other one put it on the bottom. Move action. Oh, maybe it's because I did generate constructor instead of implement missing members? Hang on. I want to check this out. Wait, watch this. Implement missing members puts it on the bottom. Generate constructor puts it on the top. That doesn't make any sense, guys. That doesn't make any sense. Why would it have different behavior? It's doing the same thing for me. Okay, so... yeah, I have a lock in place. Yeah, so S&B, I might need to add locking into mine. That's not that hard. The locking would just end up on the mud game object, because that's where we're storing the state. So, as long as we just locked that, nothing else would matter. And yes, actually, now that I think about it, S&B, we will need, we probably will need locking. Because we're going to allow people to do a lot of things at the same time. So, the multiplayer aspect's going to require it, I think. I have no clue. You got in coding school today, and you're starting in 2 months with C. Oh, that's very awesome. Yeah, so enjoy. Hopefully it's fun. Yeah, so that was the intro. Oh. Oh, I love it. See, the funny thing is, so Code Rush just said that. I was actually just saying someone needs to clip that tool messing up and go yell at ReSharper about that. And for the record, I have Code Rush installed also. I have both on here. So they're both here. I'm just running with this one right now. Go for it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I have no idea why. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I also really like their code cleanup. So they each do different things. Like, Code Rush helps out better with, like, writing more code faster. And I like the, for the most part, I like the refactorings that ReSharper does better. And Code Rush does not slow down my computer as much as ReSharper does. But, they're both different. They do different stuff. They take a different approach. Let's do the move here. So I'm going to steal that code and just shift it over into this. And we're going to pass in chat user and arguments for now. Now, I understand that this is... whoops. Protected. I didn't have access to that, but now I do. This code right now doesn't seem like it's adding much for us because I'm just shifting that line of code into here, and it seems like I'm adding more code. And for now, I am. But it is going to get us into a better place in one regard. And that is that each one of these, as we add new ones, don't add to that big mess. And we start to get the ability to create these compositionally. So we might find that some of these commands do the same kinds of stuff. And so we can extract that out without having to do any extra work. Okay, last one is going to be join mud. Join mud action, and it's going to go there. And we're going to pass in the chat user. And it wants to rename it, but I disagree. Okay, so that's our look, that's our join, and then this is our handler, and we don't need that anymore. So now that's literally all the handler does today. It connects onto our chats, and actually since we don't have the mud game in here, we don't need it there, and we don't need it there. That's nice. Wow. That cleaned up. Okay, let me go ahead and build. There's one last step that we haven't done yet. That's a big one. Big step. Solid rooms. Anyone know good pages for learning C? So I just want to confirm, have no clue. You definitely mean C and not C++ or C#. You can also create aliases for these actions this way. Exactly, S&B. I can respond to them with aliases in nice ways. So have no clue. It'll depend on how you learn best. There are some people learn better with a physical book in front of them. Some people learn better with articles on the internet. Don't know about with you. I tend to like the physical book because I can write in it, but that's just me. And yes, I do write in my tech books. I don't write in novels, just tech books. Can execute. So here's what I want to do. So for now, calling. Oh no, I can't get that. I want to say protected. It's a good word for these. Action words. It's hard to explain what so I'll just write it and we'll come up with a better name in a second. I'm not sure exactly how I want to do this. So I can do this and then force each one to have to add their name to the list. Verbs? Verbs works. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I disagree with that naming convention. So we would have to go to each one of these and say verbs.add. And we could put in something like join mud. And then that would be a way that we could do it. I'm not a big fan of this though. So what I think I want to do is this. I want to put it on the constructor. So I am going to say that this requires a params string array verbs. And we're instead going to do this. Verbs add range verbs. Yes, exactly. Yep. Have the constructor accept the verbs. Yep, you hit it precisely. That is what we need to do. So actually I'm going to say verbs equals that and then pass in, instead of doing an add range, because this way it's going to create the collection at the correct size given that, so it's a little bit nicer. Otherwise it was going to create a collection and then resize the collection to fit the values we sent in. So this is a little bit better way of doing that. So then all I have to do is say return verbs.any, where action text dot equals, and I have a little extension that I use that's a case-insensitive comparison for equals on strings, because it's such a common thing. Verbs.any, where v and the nice part is it will do that. So I could do that, but I think people are going to shoot me for that one, so we won't do that one. So it can execute if any of the verbs match. Let me check on chat again. But then how do you link the verbs to the actions? They will be on the actions, Ashley. Given that the abstract base class has access to mudgame, could it not register itself when it is handled? The instance of the mudgame, then it would be self-expanding? Hang on a second. Given that the abstract base class has access to the mudgame, could it not register itself when it is handed the instance of mudgame? Then it would be self-expanding. Simon, we're going to be self-expanding without that. Yeah. Then how do you... if you drop the word action off of the classes, then you could use name of. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to actually do that anyway, Ashley. So I could get away with the same thing by using the same convention and use the name of. The challenge is that I can't get the name of the base class at this point to get the initial one. So here's the idea. So we can now say name of and say join mud action. But I want to call it like this. I want to say not ideal. Ooh, I'm not sure I can do that actually in that way. We'll do that for now. Hang on. We'll figure that out in a second. Then you can put. Yeah, they're all in an actions namespace. Yeah, we're gonna do it that way. I agree. Let's do it. Let's do it. We're gonna remove action from the names of these. So that's gonna be join mud. That's gonna be a look. And then this is going to be a move. And that they're in the namespace is going to be what lets them work. Okay, so now, why did I close them? They're going to do this. They're just going to say name of look. And this one is going to be name of move, name of join mud. So now they pass in themselves as their own way of executing, and that should work. Then that determines whether they should execute, and then that runs them. So now when we take a look at the mudroom handler, which maybe the name will change now that we know what types of things these are doing, now that we've called them mud actions. So it might end up being the mud action handler instead of the mudroom handler. But I was originally thinking this handles the actions in the mud chat room was the idea. So now we do that, we run that. Let's give this a shot. Let's see if it works. I think it might. Oh, nope, whoops. Whoa. Hold your horses there, Brendan. We need to go over to the muddy module. I have not finished registering the types. So, we need to do that. So we need to say builder.register types. Can register all the types like that. I don't want to do it that way. I want to register assembly types. I think this might be able to do it. How did I do it? I did it somewhere else. Start up. Okay, so assemblies for each one. Ah, there it is. So it's like this. So we say get assembly for type of, we want to say imud action, and then we are going to say if it's assignable to our base mud action, then we want to make that an imud action. And I think, cross your fingers, I think that's all we're going to need to do in order to make that work. So now any new mud action we create, so this is the magic sauce right here. Basically what we told it is, we said, hey, go ahead and read everything that's in the assembly that contains this interface. So that's this assembly here, this one. And it says, go ahead and find every type that is assignable to that base class, and go ahead and make sure that we treat it as an imud action. So that means when we ask for a collection of imud actions, yeah, this is the acquire magic moment here, Brave Cobra. This should work. Cross your fingers. Here we go. Website's loading. And the bot is in the chat. Join mud. Boom. Well met. Move north. Move south. Move north. Look. Move south. Look. Boom! All commands work. Do what we expect. So that is pretty darn neat. So we have redone that. Let me test something now. Think when rooms work, writing join mud command, open the mud. Oh, yeah, so Janiska, that won't work, but what we want to do is this. So if you are, we want this to only be responding if it's over in that mud chat room. We don't want it responding over here, so. Okay, so what do we need to do? We got that, we got that. Let me run our tests, make sure they're still working. Draco, this is ASP.NET Core is actually what our project is running, so yes. B-Dog, homie G123, welcome, hey. Upload a floor plan as JSON. So Brave Cobra, not exactly, but yes, we could potentially go that route. What we're planning on doing is each level we're going to generate procedurally, and everybody's going to work together on that level, and then the next level is again going to be generated procedurally. So we don't have to create new levels, and my plan is that we're going to design what level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, how they work, but you won't know where the rooms are and things like that. So it's going to be a mixed up level each time, and so that's kind of the approach we're taking. So it's like sets of rooms with optional different rooms. So there might be like, you know, 5 to 10 hallways or something, 5 to 10 of these types of rooms, and there are specific ones for getting through it that are going to need to be there. So we're going to pick like, oh, like there might be a room that, you know, you just have to find the key for, which means we've hidden the key somewhere in the dungeon and we have a room there that needs to be opened. So it's going to be stuff like that, where there's like known puzzle types, but we're going to pick random puzzle types and put them in there. So that's the plan I'm going for. But yeah, roguelike, exactly, Ashloot. Would Game Tracker track all these bot games? Janisku, we could use the Game Tracker to track who wins and loses this game. B-Dog Homie G, yes, you are welcome to ask questions. So everybody's welcome to ask questions as we do this. This is all about learning, having fun, that sort of thing. And also, I love that our code still works. So we haven't broken any tests. We haven't done anything really crazy yet. So that's good. So we just implemented the OpenClosed Principle on the concept of these actions. So we no longer have to add those. So if we want to add a new action, we add new code to do it. Now there's a couple of exceptions to that. That's just for the handling of an action. The other places we can still apply the OpenClosed Principle are to the game object itself, where we want to start composing more behavior into the game. Right now, a lot of the behavior in our game is in that same class, and we're going to have to start extracting that out as well. And we'll be getting to that soon. Most of what should be on the game object itself is dealing with state changes and validity, not the like logic about the game object itself, not necessarily behavioral things. So like if a player picks up an object, that should be a task that, you know, happens to the player, and most of that should not be in the game itself, I don't think. Just a minimal check to make sure you're allowed and stuff like that. We'll see when we get to it. A lot of decisions that you make in code, you don't want to make too far in advance. You usually want to get to it and make decisions at that moment. So let's get these changes committed. So this is applying OpenClosed. I'm actually just going to say OCP to mud actions. Give torch to other players. Exactly, Brave Cobra. Yes, we're going to have commands for giving items to other players as well. So, Janisku, someone built an extension for catching Pokemon. That's pretty funny. Not terribly surprising. Fun games, all kinds of cool stuff happening. So hopefully, Brave Cobra, maybe. I don't know on that one. I don't know if we want to go the route where there's contention between the players, or if we want to be cooperative. So we'll see. Oh, that's really cool, Janisku. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Twitch Plays Pokemon concept. I want to do something kind of like that here in the chat. So, I am planning on giving you guys control of a sprite or something that'll, you know, do something at some point. Because specifically there is a game that I've been planning on building onto our stream. My plan is to have it work in 2019, so next year I want to start a new project. I figure new year, new project, so that's why I'm not starting it yet. Because I don't want to start another big project just now. But what I want to build is a game that's going to take place on the screen, on the stream, controlled in chat. So we will see how that goes. Hopefully we do it, but we'll see when we get there. Think Bot Labs, good afternoon to you as well. And for anyone who is out there, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I don't know what time it is where you are, but hopefully you're enjoying whatever day it is for you, because I'm sure there are probably some people for whom it is no longer Saturday. Okay, so, loving what that's doing. Human Decoy. If you have a game controlled by chat, please make it so that you whisper commands to a bot, otherwise the channel chat will die. Human Decoy, no, we're going to do it with chat rooms. So that is actually the plan. So if you haven't seen that feature in Twitch, you'll notice that over here there is a little chat room drop down. So we're going to put our mud game over here, and that's actually where we're going to play that piece. So yeah, everybody forgets about the chat rooms. No one's using them. And so the idea, no, not CT, chat. There we go. So we can actually, you know, set it up like this so that it's in an awesome spot. So, yep, that is the plan. Everybody forgets those chat rooms. What else is going on in there? Throw Pokeball at Brendan. Oh, thanks, Blue Spike. Yeah. Oh, 2 a.m. on Sunday. Where are you? Are you in Australia or something? Be my guess. You are well ahead of me. Yes, it is still. It is 2:30 p.m. on Saturday for me. There you go. I'm like, to be 12 hours ahead of me, you gotta be around there. Like, yeah. So that's the plan. Is we're gonna put our games over in the chat room, so you can have chat games going on during the stream. If you want to watch but you want to chat about stuff, that's a place that you can do it without, bugging everybody else, and you don't actually have to leave. Yep, see? Evening in Sweden. There you go. And the nice thing, for anyone who is wondering, if you do want to know what our schedule is... whoops, bot's not running. Why is the bot not running? I must have compiled and not thought about it. So, bot should be running again. Okay, so we had someone say Sweden. Alright, so there's our schedule in Sweden. Someone said France, I think? There's our schedule for France. They should be the same because they're both Central European summertime. Someone's in the UK. Schedule UK. There we go. There's British summertime for you. Schedule. I don't know where you are in Australia. Australia's got to span a time zone, doesn't it? It's got to have two. I don't know what their time zones are. But 4, there we go. So, there you go. Maybe you're in Sydney. I don't know where you are. So, the cool thing is, our command actually goes out, figures out where you are, and will, based on that search term that you give it, and it will get you back a location. Ooh, it didn't know where Victoria was. There you go. Like, people love putting in things that it's not going to figure out. Like, everybody loves doing, like, the moon and things like that. So, schedule Berlin. There you go, see? Yeah, so, oddly enough, it comes back with New Zealand Standard Time for Antarctica. I don't know on that one. So... yeah, I don't know why it gets that one, but either way, it's kind of cool, so hopefully you guys like that one. And thanks for those follows, everybody. Much appreciated. One thing I do want to mention, because I want S&B to laugh when a whole bunch of people join. If you've been enjoying any of these discussions that we've had here in the chat... whoops, I'm going to do it again. Go check out our Discord. Because there are actually a bunch of us that are over there, and we do actually chat about code and other things like that. It is an active Discord of people talking about programming, software development, the different tools they're using, things like that, code they're writing. So if you're working on something interesting or want to see the other stuff other people are doing, that is an awesome place to check it out. In addition, if you are interested in contributing to any of our projects, because we are doing some cool stuff, especially with this text adventure game, so if you want to contribute to any of these, you are all welcome to in whatever form you like, whether that is sending us actual pull requests or just, reporting issues or things like that, reviewing the code. It's all out here on github.com/devchatter. So if you want to check out any of that, that's the place to do it. And if you want to see any of our old videos for how we got any of the stuff built that we're doing here, there are videos here on Twitch, and then we also have a YouTube channel. And if you're on YouTube, hi everybody on YouTube. Barlin, X351, Barbarossa, and Human Decoy, thank you for those follows. We got the follow train started, so hype for that. I will spam those in chat. Don't worry, we're still writing more code. I just like to get to all these random things that I need to say before the end of the stream, because if I don't, then everyone will just disappear. So, other various things. I have not scheduled the next one, but we do a series of events called Learn to Code in C#, where we are doing beginner level streams. So instead of our normal ones where we're at the higher level of trying to help, professional developers improve their code, the focus of those ones is helping beginners get into code. So people that are just entering in and maybe want things to go at a slightly slower pace. A lot of them do show up for our regular streams here too, but those are ones that are designed to be like follow along code with us type streams. I need to schedule the next one, and then it will be on that link when we do. And then other various things. If you want to support the channel, easy ways to do that are either subscribing here on Twitch, or you can check out our merch stores, or you can become a patron on Patreon to really support the channel. Anyway, we're going to jump back to writing some code. ThinkBot Labs, have you worked in JetBrains Rider? Yes, actually we did do a stream in Rider. Was it earlier this week? It was either earlier this week or it was last week. And the reason why we did our Rider stream was actually not intentional. We downloaded an update to Visual Studio, and it no longer built our project. So the next day there was another update to Visual Studio that fixed it. I have no idea what happened, but I was like, well, I've already got Rider installed, I'll just use that. And Rider built it just fine, so I continued on. And the funny thing is, I'd even done like full computer restart, Visual Studio, it's like, nope, doesn't do it, so, okay. So, kind of weird, but we ran with Rider and it worked pretty well. So, go Rider. Malachi, hey, welcome. Yep, you're an hour and 40 minutes in, roughly speaking. Okay, so, we wired up those basic actions. I want to... Well, first off, I'm going to rename this so we don't run into another collision. And actually, do I even want these? That's for our old style. That's our old style. We need to get rid of this. So I'm replacing the old code that we had in here. For anyone who didn't notice that, we had some existing code, and I'm replacing it. It's working pretty well. Oh! Other thing I wanted to mention, because this is actually the OpenClosed Principle Day, and we are talking about how to structure your code effectively. I have a book recommendation that I want to make for all of you. It's this one. Clean Code. Looks like this. It says Clean Code. Not to be confused with Clean Coder, which has an R on the end. But I highly recommend this book. This is fairly old, well-used, well-loved book. I read this many years ago. It is a very good book and has a lot of good stuff in it. The links to Clean Code, if you haven't read it, you can actually find them down below. It is actually in my recommended reading list down there. But I really recommend checking it out. And yes, as Malachi mentioned, this book is a really, really good one for junior developers to read, and even if you're not a junior developer, it is still a very, very good book to read, because it actually talks about all the things that you should be doing in your code to help keep it, guess what? Clean. Ancient Coder, yes, it is still very, very relevant. Because it's not talking about specific practices. It's not a specific technology. The Clean Code book is still very, very relevant. And the Clean Coder book is not... so the one that has an R on the end, Clean Coder instead of Clean Code, is a different concept, actually. It's more about being a professional developer than someone who writes clean code. So Clean Coder is about professionalism, is usually the way to describe it. It's also a good book, but it's a very different thing. Jen's Duck, hey, welcome! Duck's in the house. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Ducks. This is my Rubber Ducks hat, by the way. The Rubber Ducks are the local baseball team for me. So Rubber Ducks. A lot of people complained when the team changed its name to the Rubber Ducks. They were like, "What? That's so lame." I'm like, "No, it's great because the Rubber Ducks are actually a very good team. For a minor league team, they win their division more than anyone else, and they win their league more than anyone else. So what that means is everybody else has to go like, "Yep, that's right. We just lost to the Rubber Ducks." So I love it. Okay, went through Clean Code and Clean Architecture this summer. Malachi, that's awesome. Yes, they're both very good concepts. It is Ancient Coder. It's also showing parts of old programs, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so that is actually one of the great things about it is when you take a look at this book. So first off, I apologize, the code is in Java, not like you can see it. But like it's got examples of stuff, and the code doesn't matter because it talks about things like how to move data around. So this talks about data transfer objects, talks about what you should do with functions, how you should refactor them, how to deal with concurrency. So it's a really, really well done book. So it has ways of finding what you're doing wrong as well. So looking for code smells and how to fix the code. So it's really good. So very, very good book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It is a Robert Martin book. I don't know if you guys can see that name right there, Robert Martin. So I apologize for putting something right up against the camera there. But Robert Martin is an interesting individual. I want to mention this because Solid Principles. Where is this? Solid. Let's see. The theory is Solid Principles was introduced by Martin in his 2000 paper, Design Principles and Design Patterns. Almost like this is the guy that like put together this set of principles as like one thing of like, oh yeah, this is it. So kind of funny. Yes, exactly, Ancient Coder, Uncle Bob Martin. So, yep, that's the guy. No, don't do that. Okay. Let's add another thing. So, yeah, I have read that book, Renee. So, alright, we're gonna do this. So, if you look down below, you'll see that I have some recommended reading down here, which includes Working Effectively with Legacy Code, right here. That's part of our recommended reading here on the channel. So yes, I've absolutely read that. It's a very good book. I don't recommend that one to the beginner. What I recommend, Working Effectively with Legacy Code is a great book to read after you have tried to unit test an existing code base. So I recommend people try to do that. Work with legacy code a little bit, get some of the frustration, figure a few things out, and then go read Working Effectively with Legacy Code. Because then you're going to understand what you're trying to avoid. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know if that extension works on a tablet, but yeah, our recommended reading list is down there. That is actually one of the first books I read in this series. It's a very good one. And one of the things I liked about it was, first off, it taught me some things that I didn't know, and second, it gave me confirmation that the things I was doing right were right. And so that's one of the most powerful things in the world, because we as developers a lot of times will do something and we'll be like, I don't know if this is good. It feels difficult, and you find out later, no, that's actually the only way to deal with, XYZ bad situation you're in. It's not always the prettiest solution, so it's really good. It is a great book to just go and look up how to do a thing. So Dreamland, yeah. So Clean Code, as I said, is a very good book for beginners. Let me see what else I've got on my list down there. So obviously you can read any book that has a technology that it's about. So if you're looking at a book that is about a specific tech, those are great as beginners because you need to learn those techs eventually anyway. And what I like about reading that is that it gets you a breadth of knowledge. So you won't learn everything about something, but you can learn all the things that are available. So even if you don't read the entire book, you could see the chapters to know what else is there. So I don't, interestingly, I don't have it in this list here, Malachi, but funny enough, I have a copy of Code Complete on the bookshelf behind me. So Code Complete is a good book, as Malachi mentioned. But the other one I would recommend as a beginner is actually this one here on the bottom. It is called Head First Design Patterns. So one of the things that a lot of beginners have trouble wrapping their head around, and I still recommend that you learn these, are design patterns. Now, I caution you, don't just try to apply a design pattern everywhere that you think it might work. It takes a lot of time to really figure out where you should be applying them. So Headfirst Design Patterns. It is by far the best book I've ever seen at explaining design patterns. You will just understand them really well, and it's great for learning and memory. Yes, as CodeRush is mentioning, Headfirst Design Patterns is excellent. It is a very well done book, and coming from CodeRush, that is a huge compliment to anything like that, because you guys may not know this, but CodeRush is actually the same guy that did The Science of Great UI. So this one, which is an awesome course that he did that is about making great user interfaces. So he's all about like learning and things like that. So CodeRush, he's awesome. Code Rushed. There we go. Don't read it when hungry because it mentions pizzas a lot. Okay, that is hilarious, Malachi. I didn't remember that. Headfirst is much easier to read than the Gang of Four book. Also worth reading anything by Fowler. Yeah, so anything by Fowler and the books by Robert Martin are good. So any of those are great. Let's see. And yeah, so what people are mentioning when they say the Gang of Four book, there is a book that is about design patterns that's not these. It's just called Design Patterns, and it is not like light reading. It's like reading a dictionary about this stuff. Like, there's a lot of great information, but if you want to actually understand them, Headfirst Design Patterns is really good. The book is not new, but the design patterns haven't changed. Quick aside, everybody. The OpenClosed Principle, the topic of today. I want to mention this because I think it's a huge thing. The OpenClosed Principle isn't new. The OpenClosed Principle is 30 years old. So this concept of how we should be structuring our code, they are still relevant today. So that question of this book's 10 years old, is it still relevant? Well, we're talking about a principle that is 30 years old, and it is, still, something that we all need to learn and apply to our code. It is really hard to get all these concepts into our brain and use them, so that's why we have to put so much effort into it. Okay, so let's write some more code. So I wanted to add another action. So we're going to do a little bit more of this open-close magic here. Draco, start building web applications. Do something fun with a web app. That would be my recommendation, because that is a good stepping stone to something else that's cool. So build, any web app you want that does whatever. So that's a good next step. Or if you want, you could just go either build a game or something like that, or build a simple UI application. So do simple WinForms, WPF, or UWP. Are you on Windows, Draco, and using .NET Core? Okay, so our next action, I'm going to call it get. Take. I'm going to call it take. Take is going to be a base mod action. We're going to implement the missing members, which it's not going to do quite right because it's going to want to pass the verbs out, which we don't want it to do. And welcome everybody. I love seeing all the follows in chat there. Glad to see people are talking about stuff too. Does the clean code book focus primarily on class-based object-oriented design? Biker Bee. Primarily, yes. It is object-oriented based. It is actually discussion in Java, not in C#, but I still recommend it to people that are in other ones. But there are other aspects of it that apply regardless. So it talks about commenting code, things about different styles of naming, and things like that. And it will also talk about structuring into tests and those sorts of things, because no matter what type of programming you're using, you want to be testing your code, and it will talk a little bit about that and like what types of conditions you want. So like what are the boundaries that you want to work with. So it's primarily for object-oriented code, but not exclusively. is probably the best way to describe it. And as Malachi mentions, build something you need or want to use is a great suggestion. And you're in .NET Core, so build a website that does something cool. Give it a database. Make it record some kind of information for you. So just make a website that'll do something for you. Give it some authentication, if you like, or not, if you're just gonna run it locally. So some pretty easy and fun stuff to do. We can probably come up with some more suggestions for you if you need them. So we're going to do name of take. And that is our initial verb. And to process it, we are going to do this. So realistically, what I want to do in this command is I'm going to outline what it is. So first thing is figure out what is trying to be taken. And then send that info to the game. Okay. Oh yeah, Draco. Absolutely. If you want to make a bot, that is a perfectly fun thing to do. And you could either do the same kind that we are, where it's command-based, or you could do like a fluent chatbot kind of thing. So there are APIs you can call out to that can help you with that as well. So Azure has one, but obviously, yeah, those sorts of things. I think there's a lot of stuff in the chapter, smells and heuristics that are applicable in any... yeah, exactly. As Malachi mentions, there are some parts of the book that are going to apply regardless of what type of language you're in. And that's why I say, like, it's primarily for the object-oriented programming languages, because it does talk about objects and data structures and things like that. And it also talks about functions, and all the example code is in Java. At least I think it's in Java. There might be some in some other books. No, I did not make a book. I'm just talking about the Clean Code book, which is a very good book. It's one of the ones I recommend. Oh, Simon! Actually, that's a really good suggestion there. Using Azure Functions for some cool stuff. Is there a starting guide for making bots with C#? Draco, not necessarily. There are some articles that can talk about it, and obviously we're running a chatbot here that you could look at our old videos for the starting of. So if you want to go the simple route, ours works pretty well for that. OBS update added hardware acceleration to browser source. Good time to make an overload. Oh, really? That's actually pretty nice. We use an overlay here. My overlay is disabled right now, Janiscu, that is correct. But I can turn it on if people really want me to turn my overlay on. I keep it off because, you know, it gets crazy. The bot's running, right? Link to the Discord, there it is. But then I've got things like hype. What? And it just starts adding in hype emotes and going crazy. So that's our hype command. Most of you haven't seen that. But yes, that is run by our bot, and it sends in some stuff. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, though. Sorry, everybody. You get one hype. One hype. Yeah, so Janiscu, we probably will do some other things on the overlay having to do with bits and stuff like that. Until I fix a couple of things, I'm going to keep the overlay turned off. So, yeah, sorry Malachi, it's on cooldown, and also I turned off the display so it won't even show up, even if you could run the command. Should run smoother with the update. True, there are also some changes I could make to make it run a little smoother. I'm developing Windows applications at my job as a junior developer. Do you recommend that you try out home mobile web development? In order to just get an overview about programming in C# or just stick to what I do at the moment? Dreamland, I absolutely recommend that you try out some of the other stuff. So, first off, congratulations on getting a job as a junior developer. Welcome. That is really amazing. And in fact, I will say basically the same thing to almost everybody. It is really awesome when new developers start out doing stuff. It's totally cool. Now, let me talk to you about recruiting. So I have done a lot of recruiting in the past. I've done a lot of hiring of developers for various companies, especially for consulting firms. And what I can tell you is that a lot of times when I'm when I'm interviewing someone, when I get the resume or something like that, they'll have listed what technologies they're using in their current workplace. And a lot of times, because of the way businesses work, you get stuck working on some old technology. And that is totally normal and okay, and that's not your fault. And that sort of happens. But then when I see on your resume that you haven't done anything new, I want to ask you about that, right? And essentially what I'm looking to find out is, are you interested in learning new stuff? Now, there's a couple of ways that could come up. You could then say like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get my business to move to XYZ new technology, but obviously that's an expense, and I understand that. That shows a lot of smarts on your part, that you get that, yeah, that's an expensive thing to do a big refactoring, to change over to new tech for not building any new features. But I would also then be like, oh, you couldn't get them to move? Did you look at new stuff on your own? And you could just be like, yeah, I've been reading articles about this, so I know how, ASP.NET Razor pages work, for example. And I'd say, oh, awesome, cool. You don't have to have written anything in it. I'm not saying, like, spend your weekends, learning skills. But, I mean, obviously if that's fun for you, then yes, do it. But the idea is that having an interest in what's new and what's going on, even if you're stuck on the old stuff, is not a bad thing. Because one of the things that you can't escape in this industry is that technology is going to keep moving, and we have to all keep learning the new stuff. So I think that's fun. I love digging into the new tech and figuring it out. There's all kinds of new stuff. But I understand that if your company, like, I'm not going to fault you if your company, has you working on old tech, but I want to know that you care about learning the new stuff still too. And I think most people that are doing hiring are looking for the same thing. So if you want to always be relevant and always be able to find a job, you don't have to at all times be up on the latest tech, but at least have been looking at it. So that's my suggestion for most people that are starting out. Yes, exactly. Never stop being curious. Always look at new things. So, okay. So we need to say what is being taken. So, and Castaway, thanks for the follow. Let's see. It's just going to be the first item, isn't it? Okay, so I'm not going to do this right yet. We're just going to do an initial version. So string item to take equals arguments first or default. And then I'm going to say item to take item to take is not null. Then send the else yell at you for being an idiot. So I'm going to say underscore message sender. Whoops. Do I not have message sender? Oh, message sender. It's just there. Message sender, send message. Actually, I'm going to send a direct message. So I'm going to actually yell at you directly. Have to specify an item to take. And then the person I'm sending this message to is chat_user.displayname. So there we go. So chat user display name, you have to specify an item to take. Sounds good. And then here we want to say underscore mudgame dot I don't like putting this logic in there right now, but I don't have a better way around this yet. We're going to build something better for it. So we're going to say chat user and item to take. Okay, so hang on. Hey, Castaway, welcome. There are not that many innovations, mostly just recycling old stuff. Yes, exactly, Malachi. So we come up with, so a lot of times the old stuff is just a new way of doing the same old thing that we were doing before. And sometimes it's just, we do it this new way, it helps us to do this, to, a lot of the changes we get now, it's like, okay, this makes it easier for us to test that. Cool, we can get more testing on stuff. Or, oh, we came up with this new way so you don't have to write as much code. Oh, nice. So, a lot of shortcuts and things like that. So, old is the new. Even when you cannot directly use the new feature, it might give you inspiration on how to develop. Exactly. That is actually a great description, Renee. So I used to hear from developers back when ASP.NET MVC came around, and they were like, oh good, I was not able to unit test my code back in ASP.NET Web Forms. MVC lets me do it. And the funny thing is that I kind of sit there and I'm like, wait a minute, I was testing my code back in Web Forms, but then like once people look at it, they go, oh, if you put your logic for interacting at a different layer, you can test that. And so then a lot of people, I think, you know, if they went and tried Web Forms now, they would be able to unit test it. And I think using MVC, because it was designed for that, got people the understanding of how to separate those concerns. And so I think now, if we took those same devs, had them work with Web Forms, I think they would work better with it. Tekonomikata, it's always fun to analyze your code from IL side to improve performance as well. Yes, I also am one of those people that loves to actually look at what the IL is that's generated after I compile. I'm one of those weird ones too. We are a strange breed, people that are willing to actually look at the compiled code. Hi, what's your suggestion for someone from more of a low-level background having a hard time doing design patterns on the GUI level on Android? Not because of any rules within... On the GUI level of Android, not because of an actual code, but because of rules within the object-oriented design patterns themselves. Viking Coder, I would love to know what the challenges that you're running into, because that sounds like a big discussion, which actually I would recommend hopping over onto our Discord to chat over there. Sorry, Ashley, I don't know if you actually typed a link or not, one of the things that, but I'll tell you, the Nightbot's not very good about links, so if that wasn't a link, I apologize about that. So, Viking Coder, so it sounds like you understand the design patterns that you could be using, say, in Java for your Android applications. But if what you mean is applying it to the actual UI level, you get into some weirdness, because it is actually kind of challenging because of the structures that are put in the UI in most applications to do much with design patterns other than whatever the pattern is that they designed for that framework. But I would love to hear about what the actual challenges that you've run into. Janiscu, .NET Standard is fantastic, I agree. No links. Yeah, sorry, Biker B. We do lock down links just because we're a developer channel, so we don't want someone to like post links that are, you know, dangerous to click on and things like that. But just in general, it just reduces the amount of link spam. Some people, I think, there are a lot of regulars that are greenlit to be able to send links. So you'll probably get into that boat eventually, and you will be able to send links. We also have certain links that are whitelisted. So if you want to link to something like the Microsoft documentation site, I believe the Microsoft Docs is whitelisted, so you can link to that. Ashley, you did link. It was a link to the SharpLab website, which lets you compile C# online and see the IL. Oh, nice! So that's actually really cool that they do that. That's nice. I will actually take a look at that. Sharplab.io. So you type in this and you see what the resulting code is. Result in IL. Cool. Int I equals 0. Neat. That's really cool. I love that. That's really neat. I am gonna toss this over into our Discord. So that is cool. Nice job, Ancient Coder. I don't need no sting. Thanks, Sky Hoshi. I don't have enough time now to get into details, but I will certainly try to get you on Discord in the future. Viking Coder sounds good. And for anyone who is interested, if you do have cool resources and stuff like that, one of the channels in our Discord is designed for sharing neat resources for stuff like that, for some cool thing that can help you out or be interesting. It's useful if you want to see whether compiler optimization does anything for you when you have a couple of ways to write a function. Yes, exactly. So let me give you all an example of when that could be useful. For I10, there we go. So I'm going to take a for loop. I'm going to toss this over into this spot over here. Guess I don't need to do anything with this code. So where do we go? CLI managed locals. We have an int and a bool. The int 32. What do we do? So we're not actually going to dig into this code very much, but here's the interesting thing. I believe it will optimize that away and fix it. I would love to compare this code. So, for example, one of the things that I think C# optimizes out for you is whether or not you did the pre or post increment on this. And I thought it would fix it for you if you did the wrong one, but I'm not 100%. So I was pretty sure it would. Let's see. I hate them back on this. Yeah, so on that website they did brackets. They did the curly brace was on the same line. I noticed the same thing. It bothered me also. Although funny enough, I am totally cool with on JavaScript. I always same line the bracket, and a lot of that is because the principle of least surprise that we were talking about. You want to know what to expect as a developer that's working on something. You want to know when you go in there, that's how it's going to be structured. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to send a message, and we're going to say, once we wire this up, we'll let you pick, take the item to take. Assuming you didn't troll me. There we go. And remember, because of the open-closed principle and the way we designed this, the way we structured our code, using an interface and applying the strategy pattern here to this, what we are actually able to do, and actually this is technically the command pattern, which is like a derivation of the strategy pattern. We don't actually have to do any work. I created that class just now, this take command right here. I didn't put it anywhere. I didn't tell anything about it. I didn't tell the game about it. I didn't tell the module about it. I didn't tell anything about it. I just created a new file, put it in here, and I can do join mud, and I could say move north. I can look around now that I'm here, and then I could say something like take, whoops, actually let me move south again. Move south, we'll make it make sense. Look. And when I do look, you'll see it says, you find yourself in a small room, a door leading north is open. You see a stack of torches on the ground. I could then say, take torch. And it says, oh, whoops, I gotta be careful of take. Once we wire this up, we'll let you take the torch, assuming you didn't troll me. Sorry Malachi, no tax command for you, but I love that you remembered that our command is called tax. Bonus, Malachi, 10. Congratulations, Malachi, have 10 coins. Okay, so I thought that was really cool. So that is the open-close principle. So we'll say adding the take mud action. There we go. All right, neat. Okay, also, links to stuff like our Twitter and our YouTube channel. BikerB, where did I register the class? It was registered automatically in our Muddy module right here. what we do is we actually just have this little bit of magic. So this is magic. This is the secret sauce. That's the crazy right here. All this does is it says, hey, grab the assembly we're in, find everything that's assignable to this type, and tell it that it's one of these. So yes, so when our, where is it? When this class runs, you'll see it takes in a list of actions. So this is what we built today. So we just said, hey, you take in a list of actions, and it works. Draco, I could potentially, I don't think I saw it, it must have disappeared somewhere. What can I do with Azure? I'm thinking of exploring it also. Will C++ be better to learn when I have C# knowledge? So Draco, I can actually give you a great explanation on that one. So C++ is a very valuable language to learn, even if you plan to write in C#. Because understanding C++ is going to help you understand what C# is doing for you. So C# does a lot of stuff behind the scenes for us that's really, really useful, and it's part of the reason why I recommend writing code in C#, is because you don't have to deal with a lot of that stuff. But understanding C++ will help you know those things. Things you could do in Azure depends on what app you want to build. So Azure Functions can respond to all kinds of things and do background processing in Azure for you. So there's a lot of neat things that you can get away with. I have not messed with .NET Native, so I have not messed with that yet. There are many, many things on my list of cool techs to mess with. But we will be looking at a lot of new tech here on the channel at some point. And thank you for that follow, by the way. In order to learn and practice, what should a personal project include? So I think a lot of that depends on what it is you want to make sure that you actually understand. One of the big things that I would recommend is always make sure you're connecting to some kind of data storage if you're going to do a personal project. And the big reason for that is that you're going to do that in all your production applications, so you should make sure that you are doing that in your practice applications as well, because data access technologies are changing often also. You can do authentication type stuff if you like, but because you might want to learn that as well. But really, I would recommend do a project that's going to interest you. So, because the bigger thing is making sure that you don't lose interest and decide to stop working on it. So, make sure that it's something you want to do first. Let's see. Just make something you'd like for yourself rather than something to please others. Yeah, exactly. What Biker said. Yeah, because if you're not doing something that you enjoy, you're not going to keep working on it. It won't be fun. So, that's the big thing. VS also lets you see the assembly, which is nice. Yes, it does, Blue Spide. Then you see how you can apply the new tech. Yep. I mean, I love C#, but I hate the fact that it's so easy to decompile it, even if you obfuscate it. So it, yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, so that is a very valid point. Anyone can pretty much just take .NET code, decompile it, and take a look at it. And yes, as Malachi mentions, although if you're not ambitious enough, that's fine. That just means you either have to increase the scope of your project or just start a new project, and either one of those is fine. You're welcome. Glad to offer the suggestion there. Other things I want to mention to everybody. Let's see. Discord link, if anyone wants to keep chatting with other developers about coding stuff, Discord's a great place to do it. That's a chat application that think like Slack, but instead of for developers, it's for gamers and Twitch streamers usually. And we like it a lot, so that's a great place to do things. And as Malachi mentions right there, you can't decompile the backend. So when you do websites, you don't actually have to worry about people decompiling your code, because hopefully they don't have access to it. If they do, then you've got a security risk. Oh, security risk? Security problem. You have a problem. There's a problem. You might want to take a look at Core RT. Oh, yeah. Okay, other stuff to mention. If you want to catch any of our old videos, they're here in the Twitch feed in videos section. There's also a YouTube channel full of all of our old videos that you can take a look at. If you want to follow DevChatter on Twitter, I just linked over there. It's twitter.com/DevChatter, and there's an underscore added to the end. If you want to follow me, I'm at Brendonius. And if you are interested in supporting the stream, one of the cool ways to do that is by going to our merch store, which has this really neat thing. We have these really cool I'm coding stickers now with our dinosaur on it. So if you want to be the cool kid, you could get one of those, or one of these mugs, or you could get a Streamlabs mug, like one of these ones. They are really awesome. Mine was ordered recently, and I'm hoping to have it soon. They're not getting it to me fast enough. I want it now. I don't want it in the future. Now. Want my mug. What am I supposed to drink out of? I'm stuck with this glass. That's no fun. Okay, one other thing to mention. So if you check down below, or you use our schedule command, you'll find out what our schedule is. I want to mention this because I am going to wrap up here, everybody. And our schedule, as you can see right there, is that we stream on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays here on the channel. So that is 4 days a week we do programming together, and it's quite fun. It's at about this time, and we usually stream for 2 hours-ish. Sometimes we go to 3, and we have gone as long as 4 or 5, depending on the stream. Today was our 95th episode of the stream, so thank you for showing up for that. It was quite good, and we will be doing probably something special for our 100th stream, which is going to come up in just over a week. We'll see what... yes, Renee, it's going to look awesome on the stream because it's got green on it. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. SNB, I'm glad you enjoyed the stream. I'm glad everybody enjoyed the stream. I think we had a lot of people follow, a lot of people have a good time, so thanks everybody for that. A couple of things I do want to do. I want to click some buttons. So I'm going to click our credits button and roll credits. Let's see. Nakey Supra, thank you for the cheers. SNB, thanks for moderating the chat for us. And Spartacus, Lumper, Viking Coder, Castaway, Svetzel, Renee, Josier, Human Decoy, X3151, Barbarossa, Barlin, Gert. I apologize everybody whose names came after. I fell behind, but thank you all for following today, including you. Thanks everybody. I think it was an awesome stream, and to our subscribers and resubs, thank you very much. Hopefully we'll get a lot more people subscribing. We have awesome stuff. We're coming up with more cool things all the time. Love that the coding community is picking up pace. I agree, Ashley. I'm a big fan of it. As I said, this is episode 95 for us, so we've been pushing hard on this and trying to spread the love. I don't think any of, at least the community that I know of, are streaming right now. Let's see. What other stuff did people mention? Someone asked other stuff. Thanks for the stream. Would you mind if I approach you with questions on the Discord later? If you want to talk on the Discord, I recommend you just talk in the channels in our Discord. So we've got a bunch of channels on different topics, and they are great places. There are lots of developers that could chime in with different stuff. So that is what I'd recommend for people if you've got additional questions. Welcome, Dungeon Smasher. Thanks for the follow. Solid Fridays. No, Janiska, this is Solid Saturdays. So Nightbot gets confused. It thought native.net was a link, because it technically is. You could own a website that was at native.net. So it doesn't know it's not a link, so it gets a little confused by those. So, yes, Solid Saturdays. And we will be back on Monday, and let me actually check my schedule real fast, just see what special stuff's going on this week. This coming week, I should say. Oh! Monday, we're going to have a guest on the stream, so he's going to be up in that top right corner. So make sure you're here for that. It's going to be fun. We're going to have Chris Woodruff on the stream, and he's going to be up there, and we are going to pair program some stuff together. Tuesday, don't have anything scheduled for Tuesday, but next Thursday, we are going to have an awesome conversation. So it's going to be a big discussion day, so I hope you all show up and chat, ask questions, chime in, make your own suggestions, and get involved in the conversation. We are going to have Cassandra Ferris on the show, so at least a good portion of the show is going to be dedicated to talking with her about how we can all engage the developer community better. And then next Saturday is going to be our third solid Saturday with the Liskov substitution principle. So if you don't know what that is, that's a stream to attend, and you will learn about the Liskov substitution principle, how to apply it, where we're applying it in our code, and why it is useful. So, with that, I want to thank you all for showing up today and making this an awesome stream. So thanks everybody, and I will see you all on Monday for an awesome stream. So take care, enjoy the rest of your weekend, happy coding.